What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, we got some great news. As undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence "Bud" Crawford, superstar boxer. We know this past week we had a shocking turn of events as the World Boxing Organization, the WBO, better known as, who Terence Crawford holds the WBO title. Terence Crawford has been ordered to face and start negotiating with two-time welterweight world champion superstar boxer Showtime Shawn Porter. They gave Terence Crawford, Shawn Porter 30 days to negotiate a showdown amongst one another. And they stated that after the 30 days, they'll go to purse bid, in which Terence Crawford, he will receive 60% to Shawn Porter's 40%. Now, Terence Crawford, according to his trainer, manager, Bomack Mcintyre, he's ecstatic about this opportunity to face one of the best welterweights in the world, in Shawn Porter. Now, we know Shawn Porter has been calling out for this fight for quite some time. Shawn Porter has stated that in August he wanted to fight, but Terence Crawford informed him that he had bigger plans as he was looking to secure showdown between himself and legendary 8-division world champion, iconic Filipino superstar boxer Manny Pacquiao. Okay, that didn't come to fruition. At that point in time, he ended up fighting former IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer Special K Kell Brook. And then Bob Arum, legendary promoter, top-ranked CEO and promoter of Terence Crawford and the network in which he fights on, the ESPN, stated that it was an opportunity we could get Terence Crawford, Manny Pacquiao, June 5th, as they were in negotiations. But investment group in Abu Dhabi, they fell through, and top-ranked Bob Arum, he didn't see a fit to put up the necessary guaranteed purses for the fighters, meaning Pacquiao and Crawford. And he stated that it wasn't in our best interest to make the fight. With that said, at that time, March 11th, Shawn Porter took to social media once again after August, and he stated that he wants to fight with Terence Crawford. Stated that the fans are hungry for this fight. Let's feed them at Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford, he responded by saying, now you're testing my patience. You're pushing it. Just stay on standby. Essentially letting it be known if the Pacquiao fight don't come through, then we'll revisit the opportunity or the possibility to fight one another. That never happened. So the WBO ordered it. With that said, now looks like we're on the verge of getting this fight. And according to Bomack Mcintyre, he states, after I defeat Shawn Porter in November, he wants to face off against essentially the winner of the mega showdown between Manny Pacquiao and what is being considered his biggest rival in undefeated unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer, who is considered to be top 3 pound-for-pound best fighters in the world, in Errol the True Spence Jr. With that said, we know the history there, as Errol Spence Jr. stated. He won a 60-40 split in his favor because he's doing all the heavy lifting. He's doing the bigger numbers, pay-per-view wise. He's a bigger draw. Terence Crawford said it had to be 60-40 in his favor or 50-50 at the very least. Then as time went by, Terence Crawford started to change his stance on 50-50. Terence Crawford then stated that it had to be 60-40, 50-50. Then he changed it and he said, you know something? That fight is in his rearview mirror. He doesn't even think about the Errol Spence fight. Errol Spence continued to be optimistic. When interviewed, he stated that after he gets the third belt, he wants the third belt. He wants to fight Terence Crawford for undisputed. It's the biggest fight in boxing currently today. Errol Spence, he stated that after the Pacquiao fight, he'll inquire about Terence Crawford fight. That's not going to happen till till 2022. With that said, Terence Crawford was asked when he was on the Akim Barak show. Shout out to Akim Barak show on Sirius XM Radio. And they asked him, so if Errol Spence comes with 50-50, would you take the fight? And Terence Crawford, he said, no, I think that fight is past. I'm past that fight. It's in my rearview mirror. Well, now Bomack, Brian McIntyre, he says that Terence Crawford, essentially at this point in time, is ecstatic about this fight with Shawn Porter. Feels as if he beat, and when he beats, if I'm saying on the fans and the media part, obviously Terence Crawford is 100% sure that he's going to win the fight. So Terence Crawford, after he beats Shawn Porter, he wants the winner of Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao. And they said they expecting Errol Spence to be the victor in the fight. Errol Spence is younger. Errol Spence 31 years old, Manny Pacquiao 42. Errol Spence is 5'9.5". Manny Pacquiao is 5'5". Errol Spence has a 72-inch arm reach. Manny Pacquiao is 67-inch arm reach. So Errol Spence is a more technical, sound boxer, and his style will always give Manny Pacquiao trouble. And it's expected, at least on my part, and now it seems like on Crawford's part, that they expect Errol Spence to win this fight. And they want Errol Spence now in a massive mega showdown. I reported earlier that Terence Crawford's contract was set to expire, according to reports, in October. But now that has since changed, and it's stated that Terence Crawford owes Top Rank another fight, opposed to just being his contract expiring. So now they want the fight with Errol Spence Jr., essentially. That's huge news. Obviously, we know they want Manny Pacquiao, as they've been pursuing Manny Pacquiao for the better part of 5 years. And it's been mentioned since 2014 with Bob Arum. And we know Manny Pacquiao was open to fighting Terence Crawford because it was Bob Arum who stated that we could have made the fight in June, but we just didn't see it fit for us to put up the necessary purses for both fights. Manny Pacquiao wanted to fight. So Manny Pacquiao, after the fight fell through in negotiations, he then turned his attention to Errol Spence Jr., which most people, including myself, expected Manny Pacquiao to fight 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer Mikey Garcia, who's, physically more in his stature. And Mikey Garcia is 5'6" with a 68-inch arm reach. So he's an inch taller and has an inch arm reach advantage, okay? And he's a completely different fighter than that of Errol Spence. Actually, Mikey Garcia has 41 fights and 1 loss, and that loss comes at the hands of Errol Spence. Errol Spence dominated the fight every single round. So, with that said, now Terence Crawford is showing interest that he does want the Errol Spence fight after the Shawn Porter fight. Is it because Terence Crawford feel like his leverage is going to go up now? He's going to be viewed on an even playing field with Errol Spence, because it's expected that this fight is going to take place in November on pay-per-view. So, with that said, does Terence Crawford believe this Shawn Porter fight is going to catapult him into the position where it's going to be 50-50 in his favor? Okay? But now Errol Spence is set to do big numbers once again with Manny Pacquiao. Is Errol Spence going to be willing to concede 50-50 split to Terence Crawford? Now, there's a wild card in this entire equation. That wild card is Cuban star boxer who's the WBA regular champion, who was the WBA regular champion and elevated to the super champion. That's Yordenis Ugas, due to the fact that Manny Pacquiao was placed as champion in recess due to the inactivity. The last time he fought was July 2019, when he defeated former unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer Keith One-Time Thurman. So Manny Pacquiao has been inactive, and the WBA decided to put him as champion in recess, and they elevated the regular champion Yordenis Ugas to the super champion. So Yordenis Ugas is set to be the co-main event for Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao, with opponent to be named, to be announced. Okay, so there's no opponent available currently for Yordenis Ugas, but he holds the belt, and I'm almost certain that that's not going to be a 50-50 fight opponent for Yordenis Ugas. So, with that said, Yordenis Ugas is going to fight an opponent more than likely that he'll be favored to win. And then the winner of this fight between Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao will more than likely face your Dana Sugas in December. That way, by the time the winner fights and beats, because whomever wins, Errol Spence or Manny Pacquiao, they're going to be the favorite over your Dana Sugas. It will be a unification bout, as the Ring Magazine belt is on the line, along with Errol Spence's WBC and IBF titles. So they fight your Dana Sugas before the year is up. Terence Crawford fighting in November is not going to be ready for Errol Spence in December, obviously. Errol Spence fighting in August, he'll get another fight in before the year is up. That'll be for your Dana Sugas fight. Errol Spence, and I'm assuming that Errol Spence, I'm talking from a standpoint of Errol Spence beating Manny Pacquiao, but let's just say the winner, okay? The winner of this fight fights your Dana Sugas before the year is up. Terence Crawford is expected to fight Shawn Porter, as I told you guys, in November. So with that stated, that'll give, whomever is win will be favored over Ugas, and rightfully so. No slight to Ugas. They'll beat your Dana Sugas, and then you have the winner of that fight now going into an undisputed match with Terence Crawford in 2022. Now Terence Crawford has 2 mega fights on his hands. A fight with Shawn Porter, which stylistically is a very, very rough outing for Terence Crawford. And then he's going to have that undisputed match in the more than likely around the May, June time against whomever, Errol Spence or Manny Pacquiao, which, again, I'm expecting it to be Errol Spence Jr. So this is great news. Now Terence Crawford is open once again to making the Errol Spence fight happen. According to his trainer and manager, Brian Bomack McIntyre, that's the fight they want next. Puts them perfectly in line. They're going to have 2 fights. He'll have 1, meaning that they'll have the fight with one another, and the winner is going to have a fight with your Dana Sugas before the year is up, and then they'll go into a Terence Crawford undisputed match in 2022. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notification. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
Oh, it is your boy Jada Kiss. Make sure you check out Blue Blood Sports TV. It's going down.